Let me pull up the link to the playlist for it really quick. So later on too, I know because a lot of the times these new tools, and I'll try to cover a lot about it. If you wanted to go to this playlist, which I'll throw a link into the chat. Can you guys see the screen right now with the YouTube channel?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'll throw it in the chat right now. And that way later on, if you wanted to click this, you could basically watch little clips of everything I went over. So if there's a particular portion of this that you don't remember or you want access to again, they're kind of broken down into different pieces. So you have a sense of how this tool works. But before jumping into Total Farm and how it works, I think I always like to give an overview of what it is and why I think it's a good tool. So I think obviously having an area that you're going to be consistently marketing to is always a really good idea. So whether that be with print marketing, door knocking, calling, doing open houses in that area, sticking to consistent area and consistently marketing to there, I think is a really good idea. So having some area that you're consistently farming to over a period of time. And this is going to be obviously a long-term thing. Obviously you have different ways of trying to get immediate business, but I think picking an area that you're familiar with or that you live in and consistently marketing there is great. But I would say traditionally what would happen when people would want to farm a market area, they might ask us for an Excel sheet, and we'd send them an Excel sheet and it would have owners' names and address stuff, which is obviously good information to have. But there's a couple of downsides to that. The first is that that information is static, right? So 6 months from now, some people might have moved or might have sold that property and that information isn't reflected in that Excel sheet. And the second thing is it's names and addresses, but doesn't necessarily give you the best idea of how to market to these people differently, because you could send a broad market update to these people, which is good to do, but over a matter of time that might get a little bit old on their end of just receiving that market update. So that's where Total Farm kind of comes in. It's the first thing about it, which is nice, is it's a dynamic farm. So it self updates on its own every 2 weeks once you've created it. And then it also comes with a bunch of pre-created farm filters, and I'll show you how those work, what they are, and then also some of the deeper features within Total Farm to really engage with that farm you've created. And as I'm going through, feel free either to jump in with a question or throw it in the chat, and I'll have it up on this other screen you can see. And if you want me to repeat anything I said or go over one of these tools again, I'm happy to do so. But in terms of Total Farm setting it up, you just visit fidelitytotalfarm.com up here at the top of the page. And then in creating that account, obviously navigate to sign up here. And then pretty standard, filling out personal information to create the account. The only thing you'll need to have the awareness of is the system access code to actually create an account. And the system access code is Total Farm with all caps and no spaces. So everything here is up to you, whatever you want your username and address and personal information to be, but just make sure to put in Total Farm, all caps, no spaces. Sometimes I've noticed it might take a few minutes to actually have the system recognize you as an account. So if you set up this account and notice you're not able to log in initially, it's probably that. But if it lasts longer than like a day and you can't log in, obviously just contact me and I can help you get situated there. So I'll run through how to create a farm first and then get deeper into how this tool works. So in actually creating a farm, when you first log into Total Farm, you'll be taken to this menu page and it'll be blank because you don't have any farms created yet. So you'll navigate to create a farm up here at the top of the page. And you can do it a few different ways. So you could either put in a specific property address that you have in mind and create a farm around there. You can put in a zip code and take into that zip code and create a farm that you want. Or you can just do an area that you have an awareness of already. So let's say, for example, this is San Pedro right now. I can just zoom into the map or drag over to Palos Verdes or Torrance or anywhere really. But let's say I wanted to do a farm area in San Pedro. So I'm just going to zoom in by dragging a couple of fingers down, or you could kind of do these plus or minus signs. But I like to do 2 fingers on the mouse and kind of zoom in and out that way. So this is the Point Fermin MLS area within San Pedro. I believe it's area 181. So let's say that this is the area that I wanted to farm to consistently. I think there might be high turnover rate, a lot of property selling, and it's a good price point. So in terms of creating the farm, it's kind of similar to if people have created like a map area on the MLS in the past. So let's say I wanted to do this Point Fermin area. I'll start by just clicking once. You'll see a dot appear. And these dots are in essence kind of the boundaries to that map area that you're creating. So I'll drag it over to the right to kind of continue creating that shape for the farm. I'll drag it down here to the bottom once again. And every time I'm clicking my mouse, it's kind of creating a new boundary. And then to close the farm, I can either come up to this first circle and click on it, or from here, I can double click and it'll close automatically for me. And then once I've created a farm, it'll give me a breakdown of that farm itself. So it'll tell me the number of properties that are in this map area that I just created, as well as the breakdown between single family residences and condos, as well as the turnover rate. So kind of a breakdown of how frequently and how often are homes selling in that farm area. So I'd say on average, I've seen turnover rates like from 2 to 3% is kind of average, I would say. So something like this over 5% and condos 6% is a pretty good turnover rate. Anything below 2 to 3%, it means it's not likely that homes are going to sell frequently there, and there's not going to be many listings. So maybe not the best farm. And for example, Taper neighborhood in San Pedro has a really low turnover rate because people live there for ever and ever and ever, and they don't move. So it's kind of something good to be aware of when you're working with these farms. So then to finish creating this farm, I'll go to continue down here at the bottom left of the screen. And then from here, I can filter my farm that I've created a little bit more, because that's going to pull in every type of property. It's going to pull in commercial, residential, condos, single family residences, duplexes, whatnot. But let's say I just wanted it to be single family residences and condos. So I can unselect everything here to kind of clear the slate of the properties in here. And then I can click single family residences or condos. And now only the single family residences and condos will be picked up in that farm. And also what's nice about these farms is they're free to create, really easy. So you could create 2 different farms, one for single family residences and one for condos if you wanted to segment it like that, or do 3 and do 1 for single family residence, 1 for condos, 1 for commercial buildings if you're more into commercial buildings as well. And then you can also do search parameters for this farm. So break it down by bedroom, bathroom, and then it'll only pick up maybe the 3-bed or 2-bedroom houses in that farm. But I recommend doing that in the farm itself, and I'll show you how to do that. But to finish creating the farm, you navigate to get count here. It'll tell you the total number of properties that are going to be in this farm. So these are homes and condos. I'll go to send to farm manager, name it Point Fermin farm, and then agree to the data use agreement, hit send, and then that farm will create in a matter of a minute or 2. So I've already created that one earlier just so we don't have to wait. But anytime you actually create a farm, just navigate back to view farms, and that's where you'll see these farms be created. So this is the farm I created for Point Fermin the other day when I was doing this. And to click on the farm itself, and sometimes I will say total farm can be a little wonky. So sometimes you'll click on things and it won't work exactly like you want, or it might be a little slow. So this is the Point Fermin farm that I created the other day. And then so right here, you see the breakdown. This was a little bit smaller when I created it initially. I think I did smaller boundaries. So this is 850 properties. And right now you can see the owner's names, the site address. So basically the actual property itself that exists in that Point Fermin area of San Pedro, the bed, bath, makeup of the property, the use codes, whether it's single family residence or condo, the square footage, when that property sold, and actually you see the mailing address as well. And I guess to explain the difference between these two, between mailing address and site address. So site address is the actual property in that farm itself. So the house that's sitting in Point Fermin, and the mailing address is where the owner lives themselves. So you might see some discrepancies between the mailing address and the site address. So let me try to find if I can see one quickly, but I'll show you a little bit later. But what that would mean if someone's mailing address was different than the site address is that they don't actually live in that property themselves. So it's likely a rental. And I'll show you an easier way to have access to that information. And if you keep scrolling to the right, you see more information such as assessed value, when the property was built, how long they've stayed in the property, as well as any loan information if you have like the premium version of this, which I can talk about at a later date. And then also what's nice too about this farm information is you have a stat breakdown for the entire farm you just created. So if you navigate to the tab up here that says stats, and also too, I forgot to mention, if you go to complete farm, you actually have the sales price as well. So this tab right here will say what it was purchased for. So then stats, you have a breakdown of the entire farm that you've just created, so the turnover rate, how long on average people are living in this farm before they sell. So basically it's saying in Point Fermin area, people live in their home for 11.52 years before they sell their home. You get a breakdown of the historic average sales price of the Point Fermin farm. So the collective average of every property, 850 in there, what it sold for and the average. Then also you have the average 12-month sales price average. So basically in the last 12 months, what have homes been selling for in the Point Fermin area, as well as a number of records, and then a breakdown of different types of homeowners. So such as out-of-state homeowners. So it's saying there's 16 homeowners in this farm area that live out of state, 234 that are absentee. That means they own the property in Point Fermin, they just don't live there. So they could be out of state or somewhere in San Pedro or California. So it's giving you an estimation of how many renters might be in that area as well, if you're trying to target some buyer leads, as well as how many are owner occupied. But what this could be helpful with is if you're going to be consistently farming to an area, right, and you have an information and you're going to give this information to people that live within that Point Fermin area. So you have the sales volume and units sold. And also what's nice too is you can filter this through different lengths of time. So you can go 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and then that data will automatically change for you and give you breakdown over the last 5 years, how many units have sold in that Point Fermin area. Same thing for here. Sales volume, total sales volume, the units purchased by investors, the average sales price for the past 5 years. Maybe scroll down, you get even more breakdowns over turnover rates, sales price trends, appreciation, anything like this that could be really helpful for you if you're going into a listing presentation, maybe in Point Fermin, and you want to have those stats ahead of time. But also what's nice is, since it's so easy to create farms, let's say you have a listing coming up in an area that you don't consistently farm to and don't have a really good awareness of, you can just go in ahead of time, create a farm around that zip code or area, whatever it is, and then get the stats for it, bring it in a listing presentation and have that good to go. So kind of moving on in terms of what you can really do with Total Farm outside of just simple stats and having the awareness of owner names and information. Like I said, the nice thing about Total Farm is outside of the dynamic aspect of it and that it updates itself every 2 weeks, you actually have these farm filters that will help segment this farm for you. And I'll run through most of the major ones that will help you with different forms of marketing. So if you go to this tab up here, that's where you're going to see most of these different filters. So if I click recent buyers, for example, it's going to give me a list of the buyers that purchased in this Point Fermin area in the last few months. And that way, say I'm going to be consistently farming a Point Fermin, I want that to be my market area and be the realtor there. Let's say I didn't sell this property to these people, but what I can still do if I see someone move into this neighborhood, I can send them maybe a newsletter or information about myself and say, hey, welcome to the Point Fermin area. I'm the local realtor here who's been working for a while. Here's some recent my sales in this area. Here are some of the great aspects about the Point Fermin neighborhood. Here are the nearby schools. And we have some of the tools, obviously, with Fidelity that can help you generate some of those materials. Moving on, if you go to out of state homeowners will segment it down to all of the property owners that don't live in the property, they live out of state. So if you look here down at the bottom, now you see there's only 16 records. So initially it was 850 of the total farm, right? And now it's 16 property owners, so it's segmented it down automatically for you. So if I look at the owner's name and site address, here's the property itself. But if I scroll to the right, I see that this person lives in Oregon, Florida, New Jersey, Arizona, Illinois, Minnesota, Arizona. So now I have the awareness of which property owners are likely owning rentals in that Point Fermin area. So this kind of works in two ways. I can contact the owner themselves because the property is probably appreciated a lot. Maybe they want to sell that. Maybe they don't want to deal with a rental anymore. And I can market to them with rental information, maybe market updates on rental laws in general, or give them general updates about San Pedro and kind of become their local realtor if I wanted to. But also too, I have the awareness that, okay, these are probably rentals, right? So if they're out of state, they probably have renters living in there. So if I wanted to maybe find some potential buyers in that area, I can market to this property directly, right? And I can have that awareness that these are rentals, these are renters, and maybe I can capture some buyer leads. Absentee is somewhat similar. So instead of just out of state, these are properties that exist in the Point Fermin area, but the owners don't live in it. So they might live out of state and they might also live just somewhere in San Pedro or somewhere in PV or California. So it's a little bit of a broader filter for non-owner occupied properties. Occupied obviously means they themselves live in the property, so it'll filter it for you. So once again, you see now this is 616 properties instead of the 850. And then moving on, a couple of other great filters that Total Farm has. One is stay years. So stay years connects back to that stat that I talked about initially. So if I navigate back to stats over here and see the market area stats for Point Fermin, average stay years, 11.52 years. That's how long people on average live in this area before they decide to sell. So if I click stay years, now this will filter and find all the property owners that live in Point Fermin. And if I scroll to the right here, that live or have lived on average for around 11.52 years, maybe just under that. So you see some people are just under that 10.20, or some people are just over that at 13.70. So it's kind of plus or minus 2 years, both directions. So now you have the awareness of the 55 homeowners that are maybe more likely to sell than someone that just moved in recently or 2 years ago, or has lived there a really long time and might not be moving, right? So kind of just looking at statistical averages, you have an awareness of maybe who to focus your attention on, who to be a little bit more aggressive with some of your marketing. And then other filters that it has, if you click on farm filters here, and then go to this drop down that says filters. So you can filter by different length of ownership from recently purchased, so new to 2 years, all the way up to empty nester. So empty nester being someone that's lived there for 25 plus years. And this once again kind of gives you an ability to market to these people differently. So empty nester is likely a senior citizen homeowner if you work under the assumption that most people have probably purchased their first home around 30 years old. So if you go to empty nester here, now it's giving you the 32 homeowners that have lived in that property for 25 plus years. And this once again helps you with marketing. You can maybe tell them about Proposition 19 or things that are particularly targeted towards senior citizen homeowners and transferring that tax basis if they've lived there for a long time. And then finishing up with some filters that Total Farm has created. So one is Focus Farm. So what Focus Farm does is it'll look at all of the recent sales in that market area, and then it'll look at all of the property characteristics of those sales. So it'll say, what was the bed, bath, square footage, did it have a pool or not of all these sales? It'll look at which house characteristic was found most frequently in all those sales, and then match it with properties that exist in that Point Fermin area. And in essence, creating a stat saying, okay, these are the homes that are in the highest demand for that Point Fermin area. So now you have the awareness of the 65 homes and homeowners that match that criteria. And now maybe you can send them a market update for all these 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses that sold in that Point Fermin area, and say, okay, here's all the properties that sold here, get that information from the MLS and can do a letter or door knock to them. Moving down, you have ready to sell. So let's say you really wanted to focus some effort on some homeowners and find people that would be maybe the most likely to sell. This is a good way to do it by ready to sell. And what ready to sell does is it combines that one feature I just talked about of Focus Farm with the property types and stay years. So it's saying their house type is in high demand. And if I scroll to the right, the stay years is right here, years in property. So it's saying their property itself, the type of property they have is in really high demand, and they've lived in that property for on average the length of time people usually live in the property before they decide to sell. So it's going to give you an ability to really kind of target down your marketing moving forward. And then these are helpful as well. So you can click on anniversary and find the home anniversaries of people living in that farm, and maybe try to reach out to people that are coming up on a 15-year home anniversary and tell them congratulations, because I'm sure most people know that a lot of realtors tend to fall off on some of the contact with their past clients, and maybe you can get some business that way as well. Buy and hold will show you people that own multiple properties within that farm area, so likely investors. Fix and flip will show you property owners that have bought and sold multiple properties within that farm. But to be honest, I think it's
because I don't know what he'll do with the money.
I think that'll be usually not too many. Fix and flip, just because I feel like flippers usually work everywhere. And then renovate will look at properties that are small houses on big lots. So they're saying they have room for additions and ADUs and whatnot. But so that's an overview of filters. And then before I go into how you can really like use this data and get contact information and digital marketing and whatnot, any questions so far on any of that?
Hey, Grant, all this with the no cost to me, right?
Yeah, everything I've talked about so far is free.
Got it.
Yep, so creating a farm, these filters, the account itself is free. There are some things in here that I'll show you where you can pay for certain features if you'd want. But yeah, everything so far has been free.
Greg, I got a question. You might cover this later, but can you create a farm that's not like a polygon or geographic based if you're looking at let's say a larger area and then you look at dynamics, or would you just pick the polygon on the map and then just filter down to kind of find the characteristics of the properties you're looking for?
Yeah, I would usually try to keep the farms themselves as big and vague as possible. And what you can do actually, that kind of leads right into it. What I recommend doing, let's say you had, and I think I'm understanding your question. If I'm not necessarily, you can always let me know. But what you can do is filter these farms down after the fact. So
Okay.
this filter icon, and I'll show this now, allows you to create filters within the farm itself.
Mhm.
These filters, which is nice, is they're universal. So once you create a few filters, you can apply them to any farm you create down the road or that you've already have created.
Okay, so like, for example, like let's say for PV or something, if you want to pick or try to farm to a lot of like 55 and up, or empty nesters throughout PV, you'd basically just polygon out the whole city and then filter through based on the type of owners that you want to market to, right?
Yep. Yeah. I think there's an upper limit to like the number of
Yeah, that's
properties, but then so you might just like break it down into 3 PV. So you can say PV South, PV East, or whatever.
Hmm.
And then like do what you just said, filter by senior citizen.
Okay. All right. Gotcha.
And but other filters in terms of how those work. So let's say you wanted to do the senior citizen. That's what's nice, is it's already in there for you. So you just go to farm filters here, and then empty nester. But another way you could do filters is by maybe property characteristics. So let's say you're working for a buyer and they're looking for a particular type of property. Let's say they wanted like a 3-bed, 2-bath house or something with a pool, and you've been looking for a while and it's been hard to find a property for them, and maybe you want to find off-market deals. So then what you can do is navigate to this filter icon here and create those filters for this farm. So to create a filter, go to created filters here, hit this plus icon right here. And then we'll name it, let's say we wanted to find a filter for 2-bedroom houses with 2 bathrooms and a pool. So then you can create those filters in here by using this drop down. So this one's already in here for me, has pool. Make sure that this is selected. So it'll say, okay, we want this particular filter to apply, and then equals value. Make sure this is checked. So in essence, what this is saying in mathematical terms is, yes, it has a pool. So if I said, okay, I want properties that don't have a pool, I would obviously check this, make sure this is not selected, and say, okay, these are properties that don't have a pool. And then for bedroom, bathroom, I'll go to beds equals 2. So it's saying I want the bedrooms for these properties to equal 2. But let's say I wanted 2 or more. They just said, okay, 2 is the minimum for us. I could go to equals and I could say greater or equal to 2. So then it'll say, okay, any property that has 2 or more bedrooms, put that in there. But I'll leave it at equals for now. And then make sure that's selected once again. Add one more. Baths equals 2. So for all these, always make sure that these are all selected, because that'll mean it'll actually take place in that filter. And then obviously you're going to have to make sure that these values are kind of lined up correctly. So like I said, if you want 2 or more, just do greater or equal to 2, or if you just want it to be 2, then have it be 2 bedrooms, 2 bath. And then from here, hit save. And also actually before that, this is also another thing to be aware of, is the and, because you can also do or. So let's say they said, okay, we want it to be, I guess the difference between that would say if one person said, we need it to have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a pool, that's required. Or if they said, we want 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, that's mandatory. And if it has a pool, that's great. So you could do or. So you would have done filtered, then pool at the bottom and do or. And if people are doing these filters on their own and they kind of want some help of how could I structure this, obviously contact me and I can help you with that. And then from here, I select this. And now it's telling me the number of properties that meet this criteria of 2 bedrooms, 2 bathroom, and have a pool in the backyard. Click this and then hit apply. And now it's going to bring up these properties that have the pool in the backyard, or 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. And now maybe I can door knock to these people. I can try to get contact information, reach out to them and say, hey, I have a a buyer. They really like the Point Fermin area. They've been looking for a while now. They're pre-qualified. Maybe they're all cash. And do you have any interest in selling off market? And kind of gives you a little bit of an advantage. But like I said, what's nice is once you've created these filters, they'll apply to any farm. To unfilter it, so let's say I wanted to go back to the original farm, go back to that filter icon, stop filtering. But like I said, I'll click on another farm to show you. Like this is Rolling Hills, for example. And sometimes if total farm freezes up on you, you recommend kind of just refreshing the page just because, like I said, it can be slightly wonky sometimes. So Rolling Hills, and go to this filter icon. And once again, that filter will be there. I can apply it. So if they're looking in different areas and you have different farms created, you can just apply that filter in different areas. So kind of moving on from kind of how to manipulate the data and get access to it. I'll show, I think, ways that you can use this farm data and different forms of marketing. So kind of going across digital marketing to print marketing to kind of traditional ways like door knocking as well. So let me get this up really quick to make sure I have it ready. Cool. Okay, so the first thing I'll start with is digital marketing. So let's say you wanted to do a targeted social media ad to that Point Fermin area. So I'll go back to that farm. And for those that aren't aware, so targeted social media ads are ads that will show to people that you're not necessarily friends with on Facebook and aren't following mutually on Instagram. So it's something you pay for, but Facebook will find these people on Facebook by looking at their names, the address, and try to locate them because Facebook has incredible amount of data and access to data, so they can find these people kind of easily, and it'll push and promote that ad to them. So they might not even know you exist, who you are, and then all of a sudden they'll be scrolling down their Facebook and they might see an ad that you created on Total Farm as an ad that they can click on and engage with. So that's the nice part about Total Farm, because if anyone's tried to do targeted social media ad within Facebook, it's really hard to actually do, super complicated, a lot of steps needed to do that. So to launch a targeted social media ad, let's say that I had an open house this weekend in the Point Fermin area, and I wanted to tell people ahead of time about that. So to go to the digital marketing suite, you'll click on this social media, the share icon here with the 3 dots. And basically this share icon is responsible for a lot of different things that I'll cover today, but this is how you actually kind of engage and take that data out of Total Farm and use it in different areas. So what you'll do to launch a targeted social media ad is go to Facebook, Instagram ads here, click on this icon, then go to place Facebook, Instagram ad. And now it'll walk you through the steps, and it's really easy. It's just a few steps, and it'll give you a couple of pre-created templates that you can use, such as just listed, just sold. I recommend obviously clicking on any of these because you can edit all the information in here, and I recommend obviously uploading your own photos as well. So let's say I'm doing an open house. I'll just click on this one to launch the ad itself. So I might say open house this weekend in the Point Fermin area. And I would obviously say like the actual neighborhood name itself, right? To kind of help these people know, okay, this is an ad obviously with like nearby me and I can have access to. And you could say, 1 to 4 p.m. or whatever you want to put over there. And you can put the title here. Maybe you put the property address and time of open house. You can do the headline. This one will go fast, and description, and it is local to you, but obviously all of these things you can edit as well. And like I said, I recommend putting in your own photo here. So you could do that a couple of ways. So you can just click here or click on the property photo itself. You have other photos to choose from, but I'll do choose file. And then I'll get one from my computer. Click continue. And now this will be the photo that appears in the ad. If people are looking for templates to make some nice social media posts and for ads, I recommend you go into Fidelity Agent 1. So for people that are familiar and have used that a little bit, and I've talked about it in the past, Fidelity Agent 1, which is a phone app, and I'll probably do a class on that next week if people are interested, has a really good social media suite. So it has a lot of good templates for open houses or just closed, just listed and whatnot, and really easy to do. You just upload this photo on here, and then you could upload it onto Total Farm. So you could go to Fidelity Agent, create the template, and then take it over to Total Farm, upload it there and launch an ad. And I'll probably do a YouTube video on that soon. So if people are interested, they can see that. And then add display URL. And then destination URL is probably the main thing you want to focus on. So how these ads work is it gives the people seeing the ad an option to click on it and go to a destination and a landing page of your choice. So I recommend putting in a landing page that has some form of lead capture on it. So maybe it's something you've created with Keller Williams commands and it has lead capture on the back ends, or it's a website you've created, or maybe you've created a specific website for that listing and you can do that there. So put in that destination URL. And then you choose the max budget. So let's say you're launching it middle of the week. Maybe you just want to do 5 days and have it run through the weekend and open house. Or if you want it to run for longer, 10 days all the way up to 60 days for that ad. So it doesn't even necessarily need to be about a specific listing. It could just be brand awareness, right? If you're going to be consistently marketing to that point from an area, maybe you just want to once a month do a targeted social media ad, right? And do a photo about yourself or market update or get some content from Fidelity Agent One, who has a bunch of templates that I'll show maybe after this next section. I'll show some templates at the end that you could use for these targeted social media ads. But then from here, choose your audience. And then it's saying it's going to the complete farm, and then choose the gender. I would just do all automatic, obviously, and then do next payment. And then you just put in a credit card and then pay for it. So I think it was like $37, $37.50 or something for that ad. And then now that ad will find those people on social media and run that ad for 5 days. And you can look at your campaign histories, look at people that have engaged with the ad, and maybe capture some leads from it that way. But I've said it kind of in the past, I think these ads, if you get leads from them, that's great. But I think overall, it's really good for brand awareness and kind of building yourself as that neighborhood expert for that point firm an area. And then kind of transitioning from digital marketing, I think I'll go back to print marketing. So kind of some traditional ways of either doing postcards or letter campaigns. So the first thing I'll show people is letter campaigns. So let's say that I wanted to do a letter campaign to the homeowners that have lived in this area on that average 11.5 year mark. So that stay years filter. So I wanted to focus my efforts on these 55 homeowners that have lived in that area. And this also kind of brings up an important point, is that anytime you're engaging with this data and taking it elsewhere, so like that targeted social media ad, for example, is an example of that. It does matter which filter you have selected. So when I did that initial targeted social media ad, I had the complete farm filter selected. So it's going to find all 850 people of these people when I went to that Facebook, Instagram ad section here. Let's say instead I clicked on the stay years filter. So now it's just 55 homeowners selected. And then I went to Facebook, Instagram ad. That's only going to apply to these people I have selected, the stay years filter. So whatever filter you have selected, that is what the engagement with the data will do. So whether it's this mail merge option I'll show you, whether it's a targeted social media ad, whether it's getting the phone numbers and emails, which I'll show you how to do, it does matter which filter you have selected. So let's say I wanted to do a letter campaign to these people, and maybe I wanted to say, there's low inventory, give them some stats. Do you have any interest in selling? So how you get there is go to the share icon once again, and then go to mail merge. So this itself is a premium feature of Total Farm, but it's just $12 a year. So $1 a month in essence. So I'll go to merge letters for these 55 people. It says you're about to merge 55 records on this farm. And so before showing you how it works, what's nice about this feature is what you could do is obviously create a generic letter for 55 people and just get one copy and print it out 55 times and say, dear homeowner, your neighborhood in Point Fermin is in high demand and something like that. Obviously that works, it's good to do, but I've always thought that the homeowners themselves will kind of look at that and have that awareness, like, okay, this is a generic letter. They don't even know my name and stuff like that. So what's nice about merge letters and mail merge is what it will do is you can create these same kind of letters and create them in mass really easily, but you can actually have the option to put in their actual name, their actual address, information that's actually connected to them. So then they get that letter and it's a little bit more personalized. So let's say I wanted to find a low inventory letter. And what's nice is there's actually an entire catalog of letters already pre-created for you. So buyer under contract, equity letters, expired listing letters, FSBO letters, home owner exemption letters. So you have an entire catalog, but there's another letter already created called low inventory. And if you click on this letter here, you actually have the ability to edit these letters. So this is where it'll actually put in the homeowner's first names themselves. So it'll say if their name was Jane, it'll say Dear Jane or John, whatever their name is, it'll pull that in there. it'll pull in their actual property address here. And at the bottom, we'll pull in your information. What's nice too is you can add a little bit more as well. So let's say I wanted this to say, if you have any interest in selling your property on, and let's say I wanted to say if it's on Kirkhoff Ave, which is a street in that area, I could obviously try to type it for each individual one and try to do guesswork. But instead, what this allows you to do, if you go to this icon here, this tags icon with like, it's like a pen kind of looks like, you see basically an entire drop down menu of things you can actually bring in. So for example, I want the property site address. So that means the actual property in that Point Fermin area, the property site. I want the street name, which is the address. Property on address. Give me a call today. So then basically this would say in these letters, and so let's say, for example, someone lived on Kirkhoff Ave. It would say, if you have any interest in selling your property on Kirkhoff Ave, give me a call today. And then scrolling down, this is already pre-created for you, giving them statistics about seller's market right now going on and good information. And they're constantly adding more letters to this total farm as well. And save this. I'll go back now. I'll find that again, low inventory. And then I'll show you a preview of what that looks like. So here it's the actual homeowner information. And then here, Dirshinia, that's their actual first name. And then here was that one sentence that I created. If you have any interest in selling your property on Kirkhoff Ave, give me a call today. If someone lived on another street name, it would pull that street name there. So you could download these. And then how you actually get the entire letters for those 55 homeowners, you go to merge here, click go. And then now it's going to email you a PDF with 55 of those letters with each of those homeowners' names. So you can print those out, door knock it, or just drop it off at their house. Or if you wanted to do a bigger campaign, let's say you wanted to do it to 500 homeowners and you wanted to mail them out, you can actually get labels and print them out and attach them to these letters. So if you go to that share icon once again, go to print labels, it's going to print out the labels for going back to that stay years filter, because that's the one I did the letter for. Go to print labels and I'll get the labels for the 55 homeowners and can do that mail merge. Any questions on that or the social media suite before I jump into another option?
Grant, I had a question on the social media stuff. Do you happen to have like a preview or some sort of like a finished copy of what that looks on social media, like on Facebook?
Not on Total Farm. I can look for one and then send it your way. So
okay,
yeah,
I'm just curious how it's received when somebody sees it.
Yeah, it's going to be like if you've ever been scrolling down and then if you saw one and it says like sponsored at the top. So it's going to look like a normal post, but then it'll just say sponsored at the top of that. So it'll look kind of like a boosted ad that you might have received in the past.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that.
Yep. Yeah. So anytime you're scrolling down, so it kind of works within the flow of Facebook. So it doesn't look obtrusive, so it doesn't look like an eyesore, but it will say sponsored at the top of that ad or promoted. I forget which one it'll be.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions before I go into like another print option? Okay, so, and if any questions come up, just feel free to throw it in the chat as well. I'll be able to get access to it. Another option I recommend to people is, let's say I wanted to do a postcard campaign, is a resource called CoreFact. So CoreFact is a resource that has a lot of good template designs. So if you go to Postcards, they have really good just listed postcards or just sold postcards that'll have your branding on the back. And there's actually a really good lead capture suite built into these cards. And if people have interest in this resource more, send me an email or contact me and I can show you how it works. I'll probably do another class on this soon as well, maybe next couple of weeks, because it's a really good resource to have the awareness of. But if I go to Postcards, I have a whole suite of templates I can work with. So I can do market updates to that farm area created, or I can scroll down and do senior citizens. So let's say I wanted to do a postcard to the senior citizen or empty nester homeowners and tell them about Proposition 19. So I have these template designs I can work with. And if I clicked on this, here's that postcard already created for me. It'll have my branding, my photo on the back. And then on the back of the postcard, it'll have a QR code that they can scan, and they'll be taken to this landing page Corfac creates for me. It'll have my branding. It'll give them a market valuation, ability for them to engage with that postcard. I get notified. I can capture their phone numbers, emails. So let's say I wanted to use this resource, but I need the data to send it to, right? I need their addresses to upload it into Corfac. So what's nice about Total Farm is it does connect with a lot of other third-party applications and vendors. So let's say I wanted the data for the empty nesters, senior citizens that live in Point Fermin. I'd go to farm filters here and go filters, go empty nesters. So now I have the 32 homeowners. Navigate over to the share button once again, download Corfac. It's going to download to my computer here. I can name it empty nesters, Point Fermin. Download it, launch this postcard. So let's say I liked this postcard, it was good to go. Hit continue, and then upload it here. So import list, upload that senior citizen data, launch it straight from there. So now these postcards are going to go to the actual senior citizen or empty nester homeowners that live in Point Fermin, and it's information that's really pertinent to them. It's going to have my branding on it. I can see if they engage with that post. So if people want more information on that, feel free to contact me, and I'll probably do a Corfac class next couple of weeks, like I said. So finishing up with just kind of the desktop version of Total Farm before going into some cool phone applications that it has. I'll show you how to get contact information. So let's say that I'm going to be consistently marketing to this Point Fermin area, and I want phone numbers and emails for as many contacts as I can. And this is a feature you'll obviously pay for. You'll pay for credits to get these. So in these two columns here, phone and email. So anytime you see a red checkbox, that means that Total Farm has access to these phone numbers and emails. So what you can do to actually get contact information within Total Farm is navigate down to actions here. So if you go actions, down here at the bottom, scroll down to send to fillandata.com. Scroll down a little bit more, and then go to mail address. So I recommend doing mail address because, like I said, that's going to give you the actual property owners information themselves, because that will include people that occupy that property in Point Fermin or out-of-state homeowners. So it'll find both of those for you. So let's go to, let's say I wanted all the phone numbers and email. So for 850 might be a little bit pricey, but it's a one-time purchase. I'll show you what that looks like. So reverse phone email for all the records it can find. Click go to reverse. It'll process the total number of phones and emails that it could potentially find for you, and then give you a breakdown of the costs. So for this, so for 850 properties, and then the emails and phone numbers that all of the ones Total Farm could find, it'll cost maximum $136 or $98. So one-time purchase, you'll have access to that data. But let's say maybe you just wanted a specific subsets phone number within this farm. Let's say I just wanted the out-of-state homeowners. Click out-of-state here. So I filter it down to the out-of-state homeowners in the Point Fermin area. So now it's 16 records. Navigate to actions once again. Send to fillandata.com. Mail address, because I don't want it to go to this Point Fermin one. I want where they actually live over here. So in Arizona or Illinois or Minnesota. Go to mail address, reverse phone, email, all records. That'll give you the phone numbers and emails. If you just wanted phones, you can go to phone down here. Go to reverse. And now it's going to say, okay, for these 16, it's going to cost me potentially 96 cents. Maximum is going to cost me $1.28. So really nice way of getting this data. And usually it'll take like 5, 10, 15 minutes to actually generate data for this many records. So to access that data after the fact, let's say you just launched the search, you walked away, you close your computer, it'll be us under custom data. So if you click custom data here, like I said, sometimes Total Farm will act up on you. So maybe just refresh or get ready to custom data, and then go to this tab here, purchase probate cases, go down to previous reverses, and it'll give you searches that you did in the past. So I did one recently, helped somebody with something, and they wanted potentially emails for the Rolling Hills area. And from here, got this information. So basically, this is what that would look like on the back end. Oh wait, that's a different one. Let's see, Rolling Hills, I'll download it. So this is the emails for the Rolling Hills area. So here you have all the owner information once again. So it's all the total farm information that is in the actual website itself. But then if you scroll down here, here are all the emails that Total Farm was able to find. So it's just a one-time purchase. They were able to get those records within that. And then it also will always be in here. So if you lose those phone numbers or emails, you lost the spreadsheet, you can go back to here and get that information. So if you're going to be setting up maybe 3 farms, I think it's always a good idea just to kind of get contact information. You can do MailChimp and do those automatic email blasts, or do cold calling, or you can use a resource like Sly Broadcast and leave a voicemail on 850 or roughly 850 people's phones just by recording one voicemail. Another great resource if people are interested in, I can help them out with, or during our phone calls, like I said. So, but also what's nice is Total Farm gives you flexibility, right? Because you can do it with a farm you're consistently marketing to, or you can do it around open houses, right? Let's say I have a listing and I'm doing an open house this weekend and I want to call the nearest 150 homeowners. I can create a farm easily. So let's say I have an open house in San Pedro coming up. I can just search that address, and then I can just, just do a small little radius around the area if I wanted, right? So I can just create this farm really quick. Give me the total number of properties. So it's probably going to be maybe a few hundred down here. So 517, I can just go continue. Single family residences, get count, send to farm manager, South Shores open house. Now I'm going to have all the awareness of the homeowners that live around that listing for that open house in a couple of minutes, right? It's going to launch into here in the view farms pretty soon. And then from here, what's nice, and usually, like I said, just maybe takes a couple of minutes, but going into that open house, I already have the awareness of the breakdown of homeowners in the area, right? So I can get the phone numbers, I can get the emails, I can launch the targeted social media ad ahead of time. I can door knock with it, and I can know which ones are out of state homeowners and whatnot. So this is that open house farm I just created. Same thing. I can go to sendtofillanddata.com, mail address, reverse phone, email, or just get the phone numbers, call and tell them about my open house. Come over here, launch a social media ad for these homeowners about the open house. I can do letters. I can do everything. So Total Farm does create a lot of flexibility for you, so you can kind of set it and forget it once with some farm areas you consistently market to, or you can continue to reach out and be creative on the fly with open houses or anything that you're going to be doing. Lastly, what I'll finish up with before opening up for questions is the phone app. So right now what you're seeing is my phone. I'm showing you the Total Farm version of the app. And the login is the exact same. So I recommend setting it up on your computer first, getting the account, and then downloading Fidelity Total Farm, the app. And then from there, you can download the app and then have the same login, and all the farms and everything are going to be the same. So if I go to my farms, for example, there's that South Shores farm that I just created. There's that Point Furman farm we were working on today. I can click on that Point Furman farm. I can see all the addresses in there. I can kind of play around with it, see the information on the fly. But what's great about this Total Farm app in terms of how it works is it's a really good door knocking tool. So let's say that I have an open house, or I'm going to be door knocking Point Furman in general. I just consistently reach out to homeowners there and knock on doors. It's a really good tool for that. So let's say that I wanted to start on this address today. I'm scrolling down. Let's say I wanted to start today on 717 West 27th Street. And you also have a breakdown. If you see the green circles and the red circles, the green circles are owner occupied properties. The red circles are absentee. So likely renters in that property. So even before going to a door, does the owner live there, or is this maybe a renter? And then so ahead of time, you already know kind of some information about that person, and you can ask them leading questions if they're a renter, and maybe tell them about the buying process or ask if they're a renter or whatnot. But in terms of actually starting that walking process, you can either click start walking at the bottom left, or click on the property you want to start walking at. So if I click 717 West 27th Street, now I can put in notes. I can scroll down, see the owner's names, Linda Abrams Living Trust. I can see when they purchased the property. If I scroll down to sales date, 2004, they purchased it for $650,000. I can put in notes, let's say, have interest in selling after I have the conversation with them. Maybe they say, yeah, I want to sell the next 3 months. So I'll say have interest in selling in the next 3 months. Maybe if they had a dog or something that came up too, right? I can write down the dog's name, say dog name Fluffy or something. And that way, next time I door knock, right, I can say, oh, by the way, how's Fluffy, right? And what's nice too is these notes are going to save. So every time you're door knocking, once again, you're going to have this information. You can pull up and see this. You can also log that interaction. So let's go to set status here, this drop down. So I can say lead, prospect, not interested, not home, follow up, no status. So let's say they weren't home. I was door knocking, and one thing I found when I was door knocking, when I was selling real estate, was I would lose track a ton of like, did I knock on this door? Did I not knock on this door? So I can click not home here, proceed with a status change. And now that home icon turned red. So the house itself is red, indicating that they weren't home. So the next time I go in that neighborhood, I can see that, make sure I knock on that door. And what's nice too is it's very easy to kind of swipe through as you're door knocking. So let's say I'm door knocking and I'm literally moving in the direction of the houses. I just swipe to the right. It'll give me the next property, keep swiping, keep swiping, keep swiping as I'm going along. And then from every single one, it's going to give you the same information: when it's sold, what it sold for, what are the owners' names. And then same thing, I can put in notes and everything like that. And another nice feature about this app are walking farms. So I can go to walking farms here. Let's say I have an open house. It's going to geolocate me right now, so I'll do that. But you could also just enter a property address at the top, locate that open house they're going to be doing. Let's say I just wanted to door knock around these houses right now. I can click draw map. And I'm literally just dragging my finger over the houses in the direction that I want to be walking in. Click next. I'll name it Long Beach door knocking. It's going to give me a breakdown of the number of records within this farm. Then also what's really nice is it's going to give me a breakdown of which are owner occupied and which are renters.
Oh yeah.
So same thing, it's going to give you that information. You can work with it really easily and start door knocking effectively. Just takes maybe like a minute or two for this part. But then also what's nice is as you're doing this on the phone, it's actually creating this farm in your Total Farm account later on, right? So if you have your phone here, you're just walking around a neighborhood and door knocking. On the back end, this farm is going to create for you. It's going to save all the notes that you've created as well. So I'll go to, and like I said, green icons, owner occupied, red are non-owner occupieds. Go to farm, and now that farm is created for me. I can do that process of door knocking. You can create farms in here by doing polygon farms, but I think it's just a little bit easier on the desktop. And also what's nice about Total Farm is I can get property profiles ahead of time as well by selecting property profile, entering in the property address. But to finish up, I'll show you how it connects back to here. So if I go to that Point Furman farm that I was working with a little bit ago, and then I go to with notes. So this is one I worked with earlier and I put notes on. So to find these notes, so later on, let's say I door knocked 20 homes that day, I took some notes down. If I click on the owners that I put notes for, and then navigate to notes here, here's the notes that I put in. And you also have other information about the property itself. So Total Farm, like I said, creates a lot of flexibility, a lot of different use cases. Any questions on anything I did or further questions? And I guess before opening it for questions, I wanted to say there's a lot you can do that I didn't cover today, and I'm happy to do like a follow-up deeper dive on Total Farm. So for example, like, 'cause I know I was asked earlier about the costs. I believe Steve asked me about costs. So like some of these features, like I said, are you have to pay for, like credits or for the mail merge. And there's also a premium version of this. I think it's still, it might be, well, sorry, these are credits as well, but I'm not going to go too much into it. But if you go to premium farm here and then navigate to the right, you can actually get a breakdown of notice of defaults, notice of trustee sales, marriage, births, deaths, divorces of that farm area. And so what I recommend people do if they're interested in this is to play around with it, because also what you could always do is upload your own custom data to Total Farm. You don't necessarily have to create a farm. Let's say I have an Excel sheet of my database, all the recent clients, past clients I sold houses to. I can upload that into Total Farm. I just need the names and addresses, right? And then it'll find the information for me. It'll segment it out with all the filters. then it also will do the same thing that Total Farm is doing, which is constantly analyzing the data and updating it every 2 weeks. So with my past clients in sphere of influence that I upload into Total Farm, I can do the same thing of get phone numbers, emails, and I can also scan and say, okay, did anyone in my database get married? Did anyone have a birth recently? Did anyone unfortunately die or get divorced? And maybe contact them that way, right? So it's going to continuously give you information. That is just on a by credit, by credit basis, right? So say that a couple of records came up, you'll pay for credits to access those records. So happy to do a deeper dive on the premium aspects of stuff if people are curious in another class. But yeah, any questions on anything I covered today?
Yeah, Grant, all this is in the YouTube video that you put it on the chat, right?
Yep. Yeah. So if you go here, it's going to be a breakdown of basically everything. So how to create a farm, the farm introductions, the farm filters, custom filters. This is the social media ad. This was the mail merge thing. And also I recorded this. So I believe I recorded this. Hopefully I did. Yes, I did. Did I? I hope I did.
You did. You had the little notification popped up.
Sweet. Okay, good. I'll send this recording to people too. So if you don't mind, if you want the recording, just throw your email in the chat, and then I'll email it to you as well. So you have both of those. And then this is about getting the phone numbers, emails. This is about exporting it elsewhere. And then this is the Fidelity Total Farm app itself. I guess finishing up, because this is Keller Williams, everyone in here. You can also export this data to Keller Williams Command and use Keller Williams Command features. So if you go to the share icon again, go to CRM exports here, and then Keller Williams Command export. And then here it'll download that information. You can upload it into Keller Williams Command. And what's nice is it'll it'll pre-format it for you. So Keller Williams Command requires a certain template to upload it. So instead of having to copy paste the data over to that new Excel spreadsheet, you can just download it in that template and just upload it straight from there. But also what's nice is once you buy the phone numbers and emails and have it associated with these contacts, it'll download that with the Excel spreadsheet and then upload it into Command as well. So a lot of functionality for sure.
Grant, I got a random question. Can you create a farm by schools or school districts?
I don't believe you can. The only really other ways you can create farms would be like subdivisions I know of.
Okay.
So for that, you might have to just kind of rough it a little bit, find on a map the school district, and then, create the farm itself on those boundaries. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, awesome. So any other questions before we finish up for today? And thanks everyone for coming too. I know it's a Friday, but hopefully this is helpful, and I'm always available for help with this too. And I'm probably going to keep doing classes. I'm planning on doing one once a week on Fridays, if that's a good time for people. And I think next week, like I said, I'll probably be doing one on Fidelity Agent One. And I guess I'll finish with this. I mentioned this a little bit ago. This is a really good tool for, I did that, was that last week, Phil, or 2 weeks ago, I think?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Total
but for
Farm.
that, really good filters and stuff for social media. I'll probably do another one of these next week, but I might do Core Fact next week if people have interest in that. Yeah, a lot of good social media lenses like I was talking about. So let's see, I was going to do that open house one for Total Farm targeted ad. I can go to make sure you have Facebook post selected, then go to open house here. And then I'll just click on any of these and then file upload. Oh, is my, okay, I'm still screen sharing, good. And then from there, right, I just download this to my computer, upload it into Total Farm, and then launch that. So I'll probably do a video on that soon as well, like a shorter clip for that. Yeah, unless there's no more questions, obviously feel free to contact me anytime, and whether it's about a question or about a tool like this, and try to help as best as I can. And also probably do a Keller Williams Command one too, because I know people in here might be using that one. I think it's a really good resource for combining with these things, right? They have the smart plans and colorings command you can do really good stuff with and do these drip campaigns within commands. And then once you have the emails from Total Farm, right, you can connect those two easily. So awesome, everybody. I'll get these
Have a good day.
recordings out to the people that put it in the link, and the YouTube playlist is in the chat as well for contact. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in, everybody. And then I'll see you all probably next week, Tuesday, and then I'll probably have another class maybe next week or sometime.
Sounds good.
All right,
Grant.
thank you.
Great, thank
Later.
you.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thank you.